the Mediterranean Sea in 264 BC. In this time, there were two major powers dominating it, the Roman Republic, which dominated most of the Italian peninsula, and Carthage, which dominated most of the North African coastline to the Mediterranean and some of Spain. Over the years, these two were friendly and even signed treaties regarding trade, several in fact. But then, Rome decided to intervene in a dispute regarding Sicily, which angered Carthage, and soon these two were embroiled in a 20-year war known as the First Punic War. Hello, welcome to Carbonhive Productions, and today in this mini documentary series, we'll be talking about the Punic Wars, starting off with the First Punic War. So without further ado, let's begin. Before starting to discuss about the First Punic War, let's see who the major powers were. Let's start off with Rome, who was at the time a republic. It was also a sort of democracy, and at the time even had a senate and a legislative assembly. However, the oligarchy at the time in Rome ran most of it and called most of the shots. The Roman Republic's military was also very good. It had a great army complete with legions and infantry divisions. Rome, however, is believed to have copied their style from the Etruscans who they had conquered in their conquest to conquer the Italian peninsula. However, the Etruscans are also believed to have copied their style from the Greeks. The Republic, however, lacked a navy, which in this war would cost them early on. Carthage, on the other hand, was a maritime empire. The Carthaginians focused more on trade and money rather than conquering and their military. And in fact, their military was made up of mercenaries. Their empire stretched from modern-day Libya to the southern coast of Spain and a bit of Portugal. However, Carthage also had a legislative assembly and people could be elected to it. Only, however, if these people were males and were indigenous, free, and held citizenship. Also, the Carthaginian army boasted a powerful navy. The first battle between the Romans and the Carthaginians occurred when the two engaged in the Battle of Messana. In this battle, the Romans swiftly defeated the Syracusans before moving on to the Carthaginians. The Roman light infantry skirmished but fell back. In the center, the Roman and Carthaginian infantry engaged while the respective cavalries fought on the flanks. The Romans gained the upper hand, resulting in a Carthaginian retreat. 2 years later, the second major battle occurred, in the Battle of Agrigentum. This was the first pitched battle between the two sides, meaning that there was fought at an agreed place and time. No one knows exactly how the battle went, with conflicting sources telling us different information. However, a likely version is that Hanno, a Carthaginian general, deployed his infantry into two lines. Elephants and reinforcements were probably placed in the second line, while the cavalry were placed on the flanks. The Roman battle plan is unknown, but they were probably deployed in their typical triplex axis formation. However, all sources agree that the fighting was long and that the Romans managed to break the Carthaginian line. When the Romans broke the Carthaginian line, this provoked panics amongst the Carthaginians and the reserves fled the battlefield. The Romans were victorious. Their cavalry managed to attack their enemies' camp and capture several elephants. Most of the Carthaginian army, commanders and garrisons managed to flee. The result of this war was the Romans putting the Agrigentum populace into slavery, all 25,000 of them. The Romans captured more cities in Sicily, but the Carthaginians focused on protecting major cities, which were mainly on the coast, and this posed a big problem to Rome. With the war in Sicily reaching a stalemate, and the Carthaginians focusing on defending their most important cities, which were on the coast, Rome decided that it needed to build a navy. However, the Romans never really had any experience with their navy and weren't good at all with naval battles or invasions. So the Romans invented a device called the corvus, The corvus was a naval boarding device which allowed the Romans to attack their enemies' ships by getting on them. This meant that even if the Romans were on the sea, they still kept winning battles. And boy did they win. The Romans won several important battles around the Mediterranean and were now poised to win the First Punic War. So they decided to attack the Carthaginian mainland. Even though Rome had built a navy and had been winning naval battles against the Carthaginians for a long time now, there was a stalemate in Sicily. This led to the Romans adopting a more sea-based strategy and making a plan to invade Africa. However, the Romans didn't plan to wipe out Carthage. Their plan was to threaten Carthage with an invasion arriving near it. Both sides invested huge amounts of money and manpower to gain naval superiority in the Mediterranean. The Romans had a fleet of 330 warships and an unknown number of transports. The Carthaginians already knew about the Romans' ambitions and mustered up 250 warships under Hanno the Great and Hamilcar. The Carthaginians intercepted the Romans off the southern coast of Sicily in the Battle of Ecnomus. This was probably the largest naval battle in history. The Roman fleet moved along the Sicilian coastline in a compact formation. The Roman fleet were divided into 4 squadrons of unequal sizes. The first 2 squadrons led the way, with each of them arraying an echelon, forming a wedge. The squadron on the right was in control of General Lucius Manilius Vulso Longus, while the squadron on the left was in control of General Marcus Attalus Regulus. The third squadron was immediately behind them, towing their transports, and the fourth squadron was protecting the rear. The Carthaginians sailed east, expecting to encounter them. They were also probably warned of its approach by a small count of scout ships. The Carthaginians were organized in 3 unequally sized squadrons, arranged in a single line abreast with their left. The center was commanded by Hamilcar, and their right was commanded by Hanno. Suddenly, the 2 fleets spotted each other and advanced. As the 2 leading Roman squadrons made for the middle of the Carthaginian line, Hamilcar staged a failed retreat with his center. The Carthaginian second squadron, probably by rowing in reverse, alongside the consuls, persecuted the Roman squadrons. The third Roman squadron fell behind and opened a gap between the first and the second squadrons and the third and fourth squadrons. Both Carthaginian wings advanced on the 2 rearmost squadrons, bypassing the Roman center and attempting to attack from the flanks. The first Carthaginian squadron attacked the Roman warships, which were towing support and which had been exposed by the advance of their center. The Romans cast off their tows to be able to maneuver. Meanwhile, the third Carthaginian squadron, which was composed of the fastest and most maneuverable ships, attacked the Roman squadron at the rear of their fleet, the fourth one. The squadron was now being impeded by the now drifting transports. As a result, the Romans were cut off and Hamilcar turned on the first 2 squadrons. After a lot of fighting, the Romans managed to win and captured a lot of ships belonging to the Carthaginians. The Romans landed near Aspis and ravaged the countryside before sieging the city. After a brief siege, Aspis was captured. Later, the Romans captured Addis and followed that up with the capture of Tunis. Tunis, which is also the modern-day capital of modern-day Tunisia, was only 16 kilometers away from the city of Carthage. From Tunis, the Romans raided and devastated the surrounding areas of Carthage. This resulted in a Carthaginian sue-for peace. However, the terms put up by the Romans were deemed too harsh and the Carthaginians decided to carry the fight on. The Carthaginians managed to recapture Tunis, with 500 Romans and even their general Regulus as their prisoner. The Romans sent ships to recover the survivors, and when they engaged with the Carthaginians at the Battle of Hermaum, the Romans delivered a heavy blow to the Carthaginians. After more fighting on Sicily, which had started in 255 BC, Carthage only held 2 cities, Lilybaeum and Drepana. After 20 years of war, both sides had been exhausted. However, both Rome and Carthage continued their battle at sea. This was because both of them had opted to build more ships. However, the Carthaginians kept getting more losses, kept getting more wins. This resulted in the Carthaginians forcing Hamilcar Barca, whom had taken control of the Carthaginian forces after their retreat from Africa, to start negotiations for a peace deal. He left the negotiations to his second-in-command, Gisco. In 241 BC, after 23 long years, the Punic War had finally come to an end. With the signing of the Treaty of Lutatius, Carthage was forced to leave Sicily, which would later be occupied by Rome, and also had to pay war reparations and released all Roman prisoners of war. The Romans had now become a force to be reckoned with in the Mediterranean. However, these two would find themselves at odds again in the near future, this time with the Romans having a much harder time than they did in the first one.